throughout 11 addresses, right? It's also smart too to have it divided like that. You might ask, well, why is it divided? I mean, like from my perspective, it's divided to divide the risk. You don't want everything sitting in one wallet. We're talking about 8
Hope
billion
you guys
plus
can see
stakes
me.
Hex.
Bear with me one
Plus, it
sec.
all went through big payday, so it's
Oh, we are
doubled its
live.
stack, right? So the interest is like over 8 billion. And it's dominating two shares, 18.
In that case, let's go ahead and try to figure this out. Wow. My camera. Tricky. Well, I might not be able to join with my video, but then you might have problems. But without further ado, we do have Gerardo in the back room. Just gonna wait a second for the. If he wants to turn the camera on, that's great. If not, no worries. Let me actually see if I can add him real quick. Hey, Gerardo, can you hear me okay?
Yo, yes, I can hear you, man. How's it going?
Awesome, doing pretty good, man. Yeah, the audio on. So, yeah, man, how you doing today?
Doing well. You know, I couldn't figure out how to get this restream thing going because I have an external camera. So, well, I guess we'll have to deal with this how it is. But I was watching from the beginning.
Totally, man.
You got the intro pretty much right. Like, I got into crypto in 2017, and yeah. So how are we gonna do this? You want to just lead with your questions? I know you kind of wanted to do interview style.
Yeah, I mean, we can kind of just play it as it goes. I mean, yeah, feel free to just tell people how you got into, first, like, I guess how you got into crypto, maybe a little bit about yourself, and then kind of, where you're at now, how you found out about HEX and the Hexagon community. Feel free to just, share as much as you want.
Sure. So I'll try to, just point out some, I guess, highlights of my life, and then we'll kind of just piece it all together. I'm not the best at having telling a consistent narrative, I guess you could say.
No worries.
What's the word? Chronological. That's the word I'm looking for. So I'll kind of be all over the place, but yeah. So I mean, right now I'm a graphic designer. I'm also a sales rep for a marketing agency. Oh, we have Outlet in the chat. Gerardo the Oracle is here to share his brains. Yeah, that's my buddy. So, graphic designer, sales rep right now. I wasn't always like this. I got into Bitcoin in 2017 with the whole bubble. Everyone was hearing about it. Got wrecked. But that was probably a good lesson to be burned for my first time in crypto, because then I came into HEX in 2019, 2020, kind of with a different mindset, I guess. It's sort of like an analogy: if you lose in, say, I don't know, a boxing match or whatever, you come back with this new kind of fire, and you just
Totally.
So I was watching Richard's streams for a while. I thought it was really cool what he was doing. I thought it was really cool that he was being transparent and honest about the fact that he was creating a coin designed to appreciate, because at the end of the day, that's really what people care about, and that's probably why people watch your stream, my stream. They really just want their bags to go up at the end of the day. Nothing wrong with that, right? That's one of the variables we can use to amplify our influence in the world and our freedoms. So I mean, that's kind of a rant on how I got into crypto in 2017.
Oh, no, please do. I mean, I totally agree with actually a point that you made that, like, when oftentimes, yeah, you mentioned kind of like trading or maybe buying a top and then kind of holding it, and then as it goes down, you don't really know what to do. And Richard kind of mentioned it, and you yourself even mentioned it too, that a lot of people, one of the mistakes that they do is like revenge trading, where, so say maybe you lost like $10,000 because now you're holding something, and then now you try to make up that $10,000 of paper gains or actual money by trading, and then that can just lead into like a vicious cycle. So you're totally right about that.
By trading the random roulette of shit coins of any given market cycle. Correct. T-shirt master.
It's
Giga Chad. Some people calling me Chad. I don't know how to feel about that. I think it's hilarious, honestly.
Dude, it's cool. I mean, I know we chit-chatted a little bit in like a DM the other day, and that was really cool because it's cool that you're able to accommodate some time for the stream because, yeah, I've seen. First off, I found your videos. I'd been following you for a while, but I didn't even know that you'd made videos. And then it was either HEXstreamers or the separate channel that they have where they post all the different streamers. Anyways, they had posted one of your videos maybe like 3 weeks ago when you'd kind of started posting some of the like the HEX quantitative stuff. And I had seen that you had also had some workout videos too. So it's pretty cool to see just all of it, right? Kind of all around Hexican. When did you get into HEX by chance?
Yeah, so first of all, shout out to HEXstreamers, and I think there's another one, documenting HEX, because like I was just getting like at most 100 views per video, and then once you guys started, thank you too, you share my content. Thanks to Brandon, like all you guys sharing the content is super cool. It's been blowing up my engagement, views, and you guys seem to like it. So I mean, I'm here doing it. But HEX, you said, when did I get in? Let's see. I believe I used some of my ether dust that I had laying around, threw it into the AA in actually 2019. It was like day 2, 3, like the first few days. I even have a video which I found of me recording myself getting into the AA like on day 2 or 3. So I think that's a nice little keepsake for the future. But yeah, I dollar cost average pretty heavy 2020 before the mega pumps, which was kind of nice. And yeah, I mean, definitely made up all of my wreckedness from 2017 and more, like orders of magnitude. So happy about that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, you know, that's one of the really cool things I didn't know about. I didn't know that crypto could offer, and I didn't really know at the beginning that, like, when I first got into crypto, yeah, it was obviously altcoins first, and a lot of people had heard about Bitcoin. But long story short, I didn't know that the real opportunity and the real best mover's advantage was to kind of buy and hold. But that's if you're in something that's legitimate, right? Because if it's something that, say, in 2017 there was a lot of ICOs and a lot of promise tokens, well, then maybe the buying and holding was the right strategy, but you were practicing that strategy in a bad token, and maybe that's what happened. Right. But it's cool that HEX kind of incentivizes that.
Right, as like Richard says often, as long as it has product market fit, right, then holding is probably the best strategy. And I saw this thing on Twitter the other day. It was some statistics on which coins from previous blow-off tops actually survived the next blow-off top. So it was something interesting, like only, I can't remember the exact numbers, but I'll just throw around some rough numbers. Like say 40% of the 2017 bubble coins actually are moving this cycle, and something like only 1 or 2%, like single-digit percentage, are still alive now and reaching all-time highs that were blowing up in like 2014 in that bubble. So it's like, well, a lot of these just die, right? Like holding is a good strategy, but holding a piece of crap is probably not a good strategy. But you referenced some of the fitness videos, which I kind of want to get into that I had.
Totally, man.
Yeah, so I did the whole online coaching affiliate fitness links back in 2019. I was heavy into that, which was actually built my audience around that at first. So like 1,000 of my YouTube subs are those people, fitness people, and then the recent like 200-300 are you guys. So thanks for that. But that leads kind of into the whole idea of talking to different circles and not just staying stuck in our little echo chambers, right? Because at the end of the day, if we want mass onboarding or to really impact, we can't just be, just talking to each other and not reaching out. So I think this should be a cool opportunity. Hopefully those people stuck around, because I stopped making fitness content for a while. Hopefully they're around and reaching out to you guys maybe, and following you guys too. That'd be pretty cool.
That's cool, man. Yeah, I know there's a lot of like military members or like former military. I know there's a lot of people that lift weights and whatnot. And the cool thing about it is kind of just the premise in general of HEX, or kind of just of anything, is that if you say you're going to do something, then you actually kind of stick to it, right? And we obviously know that that's the winning strategy with like health and fitness, that you don't just do it for one day, but that you do it consistently. And it's cool that you kind of had some of those videos, because I watched those. I thought they were well done, and it's obviously nice to have those kind of priorities, right? Because if you've got health as kind of like a priority, and you've also got other things like HEX as an asset that's working for you, well, then you want to be able to live for those 15-year stakes and those 10-year stakes. So to be able to get your lifestyle in check now and be able to do that consistently, that's definitely commendable and definitely inspirational for anyone.
Thank you, man. Yeah, I appreciate that. I think it's Tony Robbins, don't quote me on that. He has a four-pronged system, which is in order: health, wealth, love, and impact. So it's like, get your health in check first, because that's really what matters. You've seen rich people just die because they don't take care of their health. So health, obviously, then you can take care of wealth, and once you're in that position to have freedoms, then you're more likely to probably attract a partner. So that's where love comes in, and then impact is, I guess impact can come at any point, really, but making an impact, something bigger than yourself, right, is really the end goal. So yeah, I think it's cool, man. I love what you do too. I think you stream like not every day, every week, right?
Yeah, it's like a couple times a week. So yeah, I stream once a week, and then I guess I'm in like a rotating stream circle between like a few other Hexicans, like about 4 other Hexicans on Tuesdays. But yeah, at least once a week on my channel.
Good stuff, man. Keep that up.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, even with yours as well. I mean, I noticed that I was kind of looking through this morning. Like, I know I'd seen the first few videos that were kind of fitness related, and then like maybe the fourth or the third video was the HEX related. And even from even since then, like 3 or 4 weeks ago, yeah, you've been doing a lot of consistent work. So I don't know if maybe I don't know if anyone can necessarily like see your screen or anything because of the camera integration, but maybe tell people or maybe talk about where you think HEX is at in the market currently. I mean, I know you've been in HEX since day 2 or since a while, but like, what do you think's going on? Do you have any thoughts with PulseChain or just any of it?
Yeah. There's a lot to get into there. We'll definitely cover, I guess, where I think the price of HEX is going. I guess a market prediction. We can talk about Pulse. I do want to figure out this camera situation though. I think people are just seeing a gray screen on your end. I know
Yeah.
on my YouTube they can actually see my face, but let's see, camera. Is there a way to at least set an image, like a pretty image, so people don't see like a gray square?
I think so. Yeah, you should be able to do like camera settings. And are you on OBS?
Yeah.
You should. I haven't used OBS, but I know that there is like a drop down within like your native webcam, or there should be like another drop down in the camera settings that say like virtual OBS mod, something like that, and that might share the screen then.
Interesting. You know what? I don't want to waste people's time. Let's just keep chatting. So, oh man, I wish I could share my screen though. Okay. So first of all, market prediction, price prediction, HEX this cycle.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you guys saw the exponential regression video, the regression rainbow, then you see that again the top of that curve is only fit to like a single data point, and that's the May 2020 top. So I'm not sure how much the upper band makes sense. The lower band, however, is fit to a bunch of, I guess, accumulation kind of bottoming zones. So, and we're actually touching it like right now. We're touching that lower bound, which I think is pretty interesting. Go to add camera internal webcam, I think. Let's see, I'll try to figure that out. But yeah, so again, the top of the band, not too sure. However, if we do just consider using that model by January 2022, so like end of the year, if we were to drop, say, one band, because we dropped an exponential regression band on the accumulation zones, and so I think we might be able to drop another exponential band on the bubble zone. So if we did something like that, it would be, let me see if I can look at it right now, anywhere from $1.67 to $2.75. And I think it's interesting that Hexo's prediction of $2.01 lies smack dab in the middle of that. So $2 if you're mega bullish, and that's kind of assuming you have this blow off top in say December. If we had like a 4-year market cycle, which I wasn't too keen on that for the longest time, but given this current kind of bull rally we've had, it's seeming more likely than it was before, because the people who kind of expected this lengthening cycle stuff, just look at the angle of attack of this current, like we haven't even tested the 20-week moving average on like Bitcoin or Ethereum for like what, since Bitcoin was like a 10K. So angle of attack is different, market conditions are different, money's being printed. I think even USDT like is now accepted in Coinbase, so you can just print extra dollars, you know, in crypto and in actual dollars. So like everything's different, man. I don't know. If we're gonna have a blow off top, a double cycle peak, like, or a double peak cycle. Some people are speculating we might have, you know, end of the bull market this summer. If that were the case, then I think the regression rainbow predicts like 50 cents. So if we have a, you know, a near-term bubble, maybe 50 cents. If it takes longer, maybe December, maybe $1, $2. If it takes us until maybe next year, maybe even higher than that. So kind of the longer before a blow-off top, kind of the prettier we'll be sitting. But that's kind of my, I guess, prediction for HEX. How about yourself?
Totally. I mean, yeah, you bring up a lot of good points, right? That, yeah, not every cycle is the same, and not always is it the harsh blow off top. That, yeah, maybe there are more legs to it, kind of like Richard has alluded to, or even like you mentioned with even yeah, the USDT and things like that. I mean, I think that, yeah, Hexo's prediction, the 201 value, I think that's very feasible. Even in the beginning of HEX, when it was just so many zeros and then a digit, even like 1 penny was like, man, this will be like miraculous if we can get to this price. And then lo and behold, we hit 2x that at the end of the year. So I definitely think, yeah, in the dollars, multiple dollars type thing. Gunther had done a stream with Blue Bum where he was talking about, and I think this was kind of like when Richard got into it, but Bitcoin had went from like sub penny to $30, and that was the blow off top was $30, and then it went down to $2. So so many ways that it could go. But
I would love to ask Richard like just how that felt, because I know he helped make the $30 top, and I think he was a multimillionaire by that point already. So I'm assuming he threw a pretty penny into Bitcoin at the time, and then he was mining blocks at like 25 cents. So I'm just curious. That's like a mix of emotions, and I would love to ask him at someday like how, you know, how those years went, because it's not just like a day. It takes years sometimes for this stuff to recover. I kind of want to rant.
Totally.
Kind of like that.
No, I mean, I think a lot of us are like that too, and yeah, I like the way that the conversation's going. I mean, when you kind of mention even Richard kind of being an OG and mining 50 Bitcoin, you know, block rewards with his GPUs, and that was a long ass time ago. Like that was, he mentioned like the first quarter of 2011. You know, that's like 10 years ago, and it's cool to see that. When I got into crypto in like early 2017, it was like March and April that I got into Litecoin and some of the other cryptos, Ethereum and Bitcoin, and then kind of went down the altcoin shithole. But long story short is Richard is like the most OG person that I know, aside from the name like Satoshi, right? That is actually around. And so it's interesting to see the pattern that a lot of the quote unquote like OGs from 2013, 2014, or even before, none of them are necessarily doing what Richard is doing, which is like solving problems and finding solutions, even doing what Ethereum can't do. Like Ethereum, I'll give to their advantage that it's been around for a while and they're working through the proof of work to proof of stake system change. But it's cool to see that people like Richard have kind of like taken initiative already to kind of do what Ethereum 2.0 wants to do, but with PulseChain, and that'll kind of be like native within Pulse. And Richard's definitely an ambitious person, and if there's any person similar to like Peter Thiel when he was interviewed a long time ago about Elon Musk with PayPal, they said like, would you ever bet against Elon Musk? And the answer is no. And same thing with like Richard Hart. I would never bet against him. He's very iconic and very, you know, knows how to recognize patterns and knows how to recognize flaws within a system. So shout out to him for doing a fork.
He's a genius. I mean, plain and simple, right? Like, I think it was he mentioned that he was not only using GPUs. I think he found a way to like string together multiple GPUs or something to mine even faster, overclock them or something. So yeah, shout out to him for making literally the best crypto of the decade, in my opinion. And with Pulse, you want to parlay into that if you want.
Let's do it, man. Yeah, let's totally do it. I'm down.
Have you been in the Telegram chat?
I've been in a little bit here and there. I know kind of at the beginning of the stream we covered a little bit of the information, the like the pinned message where Richard talks about he's already got blocks churning. He's talked about doing a 10,000 to 1 ratio. But there's a lot that he's covered, and even from the last stream, he kind of has talked about that the design space and the design parameters are so massive and so wide with this airdrop that he needs like better input on how to cultivate it. So we covered a little bit of it.
Totally. Got you. Yeah, so I was in the chat a little bit. I saw what you saw. If you can explain a little bit, because I don't think I fully understood the whole 10,000 to 1 ratio. Okay, so if we have a dual token system, I'm assuming one of the tokens is the main utility token, and its aim is going to be cheap as hell, like for transactions, right? And then the other token would be Moon, because that's what matters in crypto. That's what actually onboards people, right? Oh yeah, you pulled it up. Thank you. So X holders would get free Pulse at a 10,000 to 1 ratio. So what is X? Is that just the new token, the Moon token? Is that what we're talking?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't know everything, but yeah, someone kind of mentioned that it seems like you'd be trading in maybe like an ERC20 token, maybe for X, and somehow that would start off, like Richard kind of mentioned, it's important that Pulse launches at $0 value, but above here, he kind of talks a little bit about the X, and that you might be, he says right here, you mint your own X coin. Mm-hmm. So obviously if you're minting it, then there's some sort of involvement there, which honestly I don't know a whole bunch about. But
well, look at that first sentence. I think it'd be smart for people to sacrifice all kinds of crypto. That to me just screams general purpose adoption amplifier. It's like not only can you throw in your ETH, you can throw in your ADA, all your ERC20s. You can throw in, like, I don't hold any of that, but if you do, like, well, right. Here's a place to like maybe not incur a taxable event by cashing out, but rather keep playing, I guess, like we said earlier, the roulette wheel, right? Like people who want to just stay exposed to crypto, but either divest or whatever. So I think that's really cool, because I think you mentioned it before, like this is going to be some insane price discovery and value discovery, because with the adoption amplifier with HEX, you had this, I don't know if I'm using the term bonding curve right, but I believe it means when you have a ratio set, like for example Uniswap, when you have a ratio set between, different tokens, or in the adoption amplifier, you had a ratio set between how much ETH went in on any given day, how much HEX exited, and that kind of sets a value, even though there wasn't a market for it for the first 10 days or so. Like, I think that's what he's talking about. So to be able to do that with multiple cryptos, I think is going to create some really insane, not only value discovery, but even arbitrage opportunity. It's going to be wild. I have no idea what to expect, to be honest.
Well, yeah, I mean, that is a good point that you bring up. When I was kind of reading it, sometimes you don't necessarily comprehend everything as you're reading it. But yeah, you mentioned a very good point, the first sentence, that, yeah, being able to sacrifice all kinds of crypto for the X. So that does seem, like you mentioned, that, yeah, you might be, burning that for the X. And then, but yeah, it sounds like that there definitely is kind of there's an airdrop aspect of it. There's the possibility of like a dual token system, and yeah, that's definitely going to be quite interesting. When you mentioned the bonding curve, that X will have a bonding curve and other game theory parameters, Richard did mention, and Blue Bum kind of talked about this with Gunther, that in adoption amplifier day one it was significantly overvalued, and just from an overall standpoint. And so some people, even Gunther mentioned, FOMO'd on day one, and then he didn't realize that day 33, 34, 35, was the best time to buy out of the 351-day launch phase. Well, Richard mentioned a little bit in his last like 8-hour long live stream that he wanted to possibly do it the opposite this time, where the bonding curve might start with the people that got in the earliest and then phase out as it like went to the end of the launch phase type thing. But that part's all definitely speculative as far as what happens. But I think the ambitiousness for him doing such a thing and going over the whole ETH system state is really cool, and it's something that no one else is doing. I mean, Richard did talk about it, I think, towards the last sentence, the second to last sentence, the first sentence, the largest airdrop in history of man is a big deal. So that's like making history again with the forking of Ethereum.
No, for sure. I think the like you said, he doesn't want day one guys to get wrecked, or not wrecked, right? Because if you got in on day one on HEX, you're still up, but they were down for a while. You had this kind of post-launch dump for a minute. I find it interesting though, like how are you going to combat that? He attempted to combat it in the adoption amplifier by having double the amount of HEX in the HEX bucket on day one, but it's still dumped. So maybe having a different multiple, a higher multiple of supply on day one for that kind of FOMO, that hype. So I guess don't expect day 30, day 50 to be the absolute bottom for this upcoming coin, but rather it could be day one. You know, like it might be the case that day one guys actually do the best this time. So that's kind of interesting to think. But if everyone thinks that and everyone tries to get in on day one, is it going to offset that, and are we going to have the same problem? So it's a dynamic system. You can't really predict this stuff, really. But yeah, the fact that he's copying or forking Ethereum and claiming that it might be you might have all of your ERC20s on Pulse, that's a big deal. It's like copying the playing field pretty much. So then you have a choice. And I think, like you mentioned earlier, it's going to be like where the two halves add up to more than the whole, which, yeah, most likely, right? Because you have people getting to choose at this point, which is just generally a good thing.
Yeah, I thought it was quite interesting that right now the Ethereum network, or even right now, actually, the Ethereum fees the other day, like yesterday, they weren't very high to say end of stake and stuff like that. But yeah, Richard kind of mentions that the fork will kind of do one of two things, where instead of a lot of the other contracts causing like congestion in Ethereum, well, maybe the launch of Pulse will kind of reduce some of that congestion, and so it might lower the fees from that regard. And then for Ethereum HEX, and then you might have the lower fees from, say, Pulse HEX and whatnot too. But yeah, that's definitely very interesting. I know Richard has mentioned that at the end of this month, we'll kind of know some more. And I know even he's doing a live stream with like the ladies of HEX and Sammy and all of those ladies at the end of the month. So who knows? I mean, with Richard and the three developers, maybe more turning blocks and working on that, it might be out sooner than maybe we were initially told. I mean, that's all speculative, but seems like they're making good progress.
Yeah, I have a feeling he's gonna drop it on us, and we're gonna not really expect it, because people are gonna want to not front run, but like do whatever the action is necessary to get an airdrop beforehand, if it's something like just holding ETH or whatever. But yeah, he said himself, right, like forking Ethereum is way easier than building HEX. Like for the most part, it's a lot of copy paste, changing some parameters, and it could happen sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting. I know even a few people had kind of mentioned that we all know that HEX, since it's a smart contract on Ethereum, that all the code was compiled first and then it was audited and whatnot. But yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned that Richard talks about, since all of the Ethereum code itself is open source and you got the readmes, that you can kind of verify that seems a little bit more simple, since other people have already been working on it for multiple years. So it seems that we're at quite a interesting time in the market itself, where Bitcoin's kind of cooling down a little bit, Ethereum's kind of pumping up a little bit. I mean, it almost seems just from like a 10-foot view that it seems like we're almost kind of going into maybe some alts pumping up and whatnot, and Ethereum's pumping pretty decent, and Bitcoin's kind of cooling down, at least for the meantime.
Yeah, did you see that ETH BTC ratio? It just popped off the other day. Like a lot of people
Really.
ETH season, alt season. I think it went to 0.044 or something, which is generally a good sign for altcoins, I believe. I don't know. Would you consider HEX an altcoin? That's kind of a controversial question.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's always tough, right? Yeah, Bitcoin was always kind of the main, and from all the maxis, I'd always kind of considered like everything else aside from like BTC being an alternative coin. But yeah, I definitely would consider HEX an altcoin. See, the difference is that a lot of people don't realize is like, sure, HEX is an ERC20, but it's also like a smart contract itself too. And a lot of people that are in the other ERC20s, like just a lot of them don't have that kind of aspect. So it's like, it's different when they're trying to like compare it directly. But yeah, I would definitely say that it's probably like an ERC20.
For sure. Definitely. Hey, do we have any questions in the chat? I saw Brandon said we want moon math. Anything on your end?
Yeah, let me go to that. Yeah, we've got a handful of people in here. Let's see if I can get to Brennan. Well, I mean, I guess maybe if you'd already kind of read the comment of the moon math, I mean, yeah, you already kind of talk about it could hit a couple dollars and whatnot this year for HEX. That's definitely pretty bullish, right? If we do anything like we did last year with the 300 something X, then yeah, with a dollar, multiple dollars.
Think about like with most coins, peak to peak, you see diminishing returns over the course of their lifetimes, and even not, let's say, what was let me try to do some math here. I mean, we did what did we do last year? Like 400x or something in HEX.
I know Richard's thanks is like 388x and something odd days, right. But yeah, it was close to that. Yeah, pretty much.
So even if we have diminishing returns and just do the 100x this year, from where we started or the bottom of this year, that would still put us at like 60 cents to $2. So a lot of these models kind of converge if you look at them from, like you said, a 10-foot view.
Totally. And then, yeah, I did have. Oh, go ahead, please.
Sorry, I was just saying, we don't know how HEX performs in a bear market either. I've mentioned this in some of my videos. You see it correlated on some days, decorrelated on other days, but then you have to take into account that liquidity shifted from the ETH pair to the USDC pair. So it's like, well, that probably plays a role in correlation, and it's kind of hard to tell, but I'm really curious to see how it'll perform in a bear market.
Yeah, that's a good point. And Brennan in the comments did kind of weigh in on the altcoin thing. And I agree with his standpoint. And this is why I never like to say like, hey, I'm the only one that knows everything, because I definitely don't. But that's the cool thing kind of about doing these streams, is you get to hear input from people when like, oh yeah, we agree with this, or oh, maybe this is different. But yeah, he definitely says HEX is an altcoin. That's absurd. It's a logic contract. It's its own thing. Altcoin is such a ridiculous term to me. So he's got that. And then did want to cover real quick, since we can't necessarily like see your screen right off bat, we do have I think it's this one. What else do you have? So, I mean, so for someone like yourself and for me knowing about more of your story, you've been in HEX very early, like a lot of OGs have. Have you changed any of your staking strategies since you first started? Because I know that, when I first started, like some of the first stakes were, say, like a penny or 2 pennies to start it, and even to end it was like a couple of pennies. Have you changed any of your staking parameters with like the maximization of T-shares, or have you done any ladders or anything that you can kind of weigh in on in regards to how things like that have changed?
Let's see. I'll be real with you. Earlier on in HEX, I didn't fully understand how it worked, and I completely misunderstood Big Payday. I thought it was going to be something like you stake and whatever your big payday bonus is, you get it paid liquid that day. I didn't know it was going to be applied to your stake. And then it just took like a few weeks, and I was like, wait, that would be a crazy supply shock. And then I started learning how it actually worked and realized that you don't get your BPD liquid on that day, but rather it gets added to your current stakes. So with that misunderstanding of how it worked, it led me to put some stakes pretty far out, some pretty big amounts, and which in retrospect it's a good thing, right? But with that said, I do have some longer ones, and so I don't really have that much, I guess, liquid to be playing with and be making new staking ladders. So in summary, like I haven't made any new stakes recently because it's all kind of staked out farther. But I mean, that might change in the future. I have no clue.
Totally. I know what you mean too. Like when HEX kind of first came out, I mean, December 2nd is, when I think the free claim was, or maybe that was the first day of the AA. But yeah, I had a very similar scenario where Richard he had done almost a stream every day, it seemed, before the launch phase itself, and was talking about like how the adoption amplifier was kind of based off of the EOS 351-day launch phase. And anyways, I kind of had a similar aspect too, where I was like, I don't necessarily understand this T-share stuff or anything else to the fullest extent, and I don't think Richard did either. At the beginning, we kind of all, learned progressively, but yeah, same here, where some of my best stakes were the earliest ones that were just the longest out, but HEX definitely is that like long-term, 401k or like, kind of CD equivalent that Richard kind of talks about, where the longer stakes definitely earn you the most interest, since it kind of compounds over time, but it also like saves yourself from yourself, because I've never had the ultimatum of like, hey, if you said you're going to do this, then you better stick to it. Otherwise, if you try and, renege on what you said you're going to do, you're going to be penalized significantly. So I like that aspect about HEX, and I think a lot of us Hexicans share that in familiar, that a lot of us, we were able to hold up to what we said we were going to do. So the stakes, holding out to that, is kind of something we can all share in common.
Of course, man. Like it forces you to hold. The hard lock is due to that truth engine. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a hard lock, right? And the penalties being so severe just further emphasize that. There was a comment right now that I kind of wanted to talk about. If you can pin it on there. This guy,
yeah, totally.
Tiago, says, I don't see HEX being $1 this year. Market cap is a psychological barrier. Sadly, we have ETH as being that barrier. So I wanted to touch on that. So let's assume Bitcoin reaches a blow off top of, 100K this year, 150K. What would that put its market cap, like 3 trillion or so, 2-3 trillion. Ethereum tends to move up 2x on average as much. So let's play with 150K Bitcoin. That's a 3x from here. So Ethereum would be 6x from here. So let's say 12K or 13K.
Mm-hmm.
What would that put Ethereum's market cap at? Close to $1 trillion. So we have Bitcoin at like 2-3 trillion. We have Ethereum at 1 trillion. And so HEX at $1 would just be 569 billion. I think that's the supply. So if each one is $1, it would put it at half of Ethereum. And assuming something like BNB or Tether or Trash XRP, assuming none of those kind of get in the way, we could easily see a $1 HEX and still have it be top 3, top 4, top 5 coin. So I don't agree with that comment at all. Actually, I partially agree with it. The fact that it is a psychological barrier to have HEX flip anything like ETH and Bitcoin. I'm not saying it's not possible, but it is the psychological barrier. That I do agree with. But given kind of the thought experiment I just gave, we could see HEX being at $1 and not even be number 1 or 2. It doesn't even have to flip Bitcoin or Ethereum to be there. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
No, I definitely agree. Yeah, I mean, especially with all the other kind of market caps, I definitely agree with that, Matt, that you kind of mentioned there. I was going to say, I was kind of looking for the Tiago's comment as you were mentioning it, but maybe it's on your restream side of the things.
Yeah, it's on my YouTube.
Okay. I don't think it'll let me show it because it just kind of shows the the channels that I'm broadcasting on. But we'll definitely have to tamper maybe with a little bit of things next time. We'll get the camera going and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, it's always great to hear input from the other people as well. Speaking of input, Scotty does know. Good to see you, man. He says, I don't see $1 hex this year either. I realistically see a moon target around 30 cents. So even 30 cents from here is definitely pretty good, like a 16, 17x, something like that, almost a 15x. So that's awesome.
Mm-hmm. I mean, do you really see? Sure, like that's a nice price target, 30 cents. I'm sure that would make a lot of people happy, a lot of people newly minted millionaires. But do you really think a 400x on the year prior and then only seeing like a 30x this year, diminishing returns by a whole order of magnitude? I don't know, man. That seems like quite the steep decline all of a sudden.
Well, and just like we were talking earlier, that it's really interesting because, a lot of people just look at like market cap solely as a figure. And it's interesting when Richard kind of talks about that being almost like a arbitrary number because of the way sometimes it can be calculated. But anyways, it is interesting that in the beginning, I remember I was watching Hexologist and I was like, oh man, this guy's streaming every day. Like, that's awesome. And then him talking about, if we can reach a penny, then that's great. And I'm kind of more along with the similar thinking for yourself, and not everyone has like a crystal ball, and this is obviously just speculation. But I'm kind of the opinion as well that we might be very well surprised this year with what kind of happens within the next 365 days when it comes to that kind of pumpage. And you also mentioned like who knows what happens with HEX in a bear market, and honestly, even with the December 2nd, 2019 launch, like we were kind of like getting out of the bear market, the ETH bear market then. Like I remember Ethereum was like $80 to $120 and it was slowly climbing its way up. And then now you look at it and it's like, man, those were really the glory days, and it's so cool that if anyone was able to capitalize on those opportunities. But then I think like, well, what's it going to look like a year from now, 2 years from now? And I think that anyone that even has like the slightest of complaint, I think they'll all be very satisfied if they can just, keep their bags and, be patient with the gains as they come, because you never know when the God will is going to spend, 10,000 ETH in one buy. But we see that a lot with HEX, that it kind of has its like Wyckoff thing where it kind of consolidates and then just has a huge pump up, which a lot of people look at.
Right, and you see the recent like bull flag forming into the 0.0 or 1.5 penny region. Like holy shit! Like 2-3 months ago, you could have only dreamed about that, and now people are like, "Oh no, I'm down 20% from last weekend," and it's like, bro, chill, hold, relax, it'll be okay. Again, not financial advice, but I think people need to have more patience. But they just easily normalize like. They just forget, man. They just forget.
That is true. I mean, and from what I could see when I was watching your videos, when you're looking at, and by the way, you do really good work. I mean, for anyone that hasn't seen his channel, it's going to be linked in the description. I think it already is, but y'all should definitely follow. Is that how you say it? Just Gerardo?
Yeah, that's how you say it.
Okay, cool, nice. But yeah, you guys should definitely follow Gerardo. I mean, similar to, you kind of remind me of like Whales Only, who's also in the chat. But like when he first came onto the scene, he had made one video just because he had made one stream, I should say, because there was some confusion within the consensus of the HEX market that he had noticed, the community. And anyway, so he makes a stream, and then all of a sudden people are like, man, we've never kind of seen this kind of analysis. Like, sure, we all thought that $1 is possible, or XYZ was possible, but now this is kind of the data that's showing it. And so I definitely want to just also like say that your channel as well kind of shows and paints like the more broader picture as well. So like when you're looking at the data and the stuff like that, you're more so looking at the version 1. Is that correct? Uniswap version 1?
So I get my actual price data from Nomics, their historical data tab. You can do that with any coin.
Okay.
So it really depends on how they get their price data. I'm assuming they aggregate or average across whatever exchanges they find to be the most reputable. I don't know if they do a weighted average. Like I have no clue. Like the exact the exact formulas they use to get your price data for Hex, but I use their data. I'm assuming everything up to like May or whatever of 2020 is V1 because I think that was the highest liquidity market for Hex for that time. So whenever we look at the Hex price in my data models, it's most likely kind of like a Frankenstein of all sorts of exchanges. But I'm not sure. It depends on Nomics for sure.
Okay, right. And then also when I'm seeing your channels, are you doing some of the charts and the graphs? Like, are you doing that in Excel?
It's Google Sheets, so it's pretty much Excel but free.
Where did you learn that skill? Because I was on stream one time with Wales, like when he maybe like a few weeks after he first started, and he's showing me Excel, not even using the mouse, just the keyboard and the arrows. But where did you maybe learn some of that experience where you're kind of able to translate that into crypto? Like, where did you learn that from?
Great question, and thanks for the plug, by the way, for the channel. So I actually studied math, physics, and engineering back in university, so I was able to translate a lot of that knowledge into crypto, just math in general, statistics, spreadsheets. My introduction to programming was with this one software called MATLAB, Matrix Laboratory. So it kind of allows you to do math with data sets. And so there was a lot there that you could translate, just modeling in general, being able to use software programming. Like if you guys saw the heat map, I had to relearn some Python for that, which again, it's not too hard if you're kind of into that. You're kind of what do they say, left-brained for the most part. I tend to be more like that. So definitely math, physics, and engineering studies helped a lot with